Well, we have a confession tonight in the attempted assassination of the Speaker of the House. The man who broke into Speaker Pelosi's home in the middle of the night demanding to know where's Nancy is not charged with the attempted assassination of the Speaker because the state and federal charges he is facing tonight are based on the actual words he used in his confession to police, in which he said he broke into Nancy Pelosi's San Francisco home planning to use his hammer, quote, to break her kneecaps. But when 42-year-old Trump-supporting David DePape used his hammer on Nancy Pelosi's husband, he did not go for the kneecaps. He used that hammer to fracture Paul Pelosi's skull. And he was stopped from continuing to repeatedly slam that hammer into Mr. Pelosi's skull by San Francisco police officers who entered the house just in time to witness the first blow of that hammer to Paul Pelosi's skull and to then immediately apprehend the would-be assassin. We know that 82-year-old Nancy Pelosi would have fought off this attacker every bit as much as her husband did. And we know what the assassin was going to do with that hammer if Nancy Pelosi had been home and if he was struggling with her over that hammer. And you know there would have been a struggle because this is who Nancy Pelosi is.
Secret Service said they have dissuaded him from coming to Capitol Hill. They told him they don't have the resources to protect him here. So at the moment he is not coming, but that could change.
If he comes, I'm going to punch him out. This is my mom.
I would pay to see
I've
that.
been waiting for this, for trespassing on the Capitol grounds. I'm going to punch him out, and I'm going to go to jail, and I'm going to be happy.
If that Trump supporter who broke into Nancy Pelosi's home had come at the Speaker of the House with a hammer, he was going to have a fight on his hands, and he was going to try to fracture her skull. He was going to try to murder her, which is exactly what he is now accused of doing to Nancy Pelosi's husband. David DePape is facing state charges of attempted murder and assault with a deadly weapon, along with other state charges. And before the state charges were filed today, federal prosecutors were first to charge him with the federal crimes of assault on the immediate family member of a federal official and attempted kidnapping of a federal official. That means attempted kidnapping of the Speaker of the House. He is being charged with the federal crime of the attempted kidnapping of the Speaker of the House because all of the charges he is facing tonight are based on the actual words of his confession described in an FBI affidavit in the federal criminal case against him. In a Mirandized and recorded interview of DePape by the San Francisco Police Department, police officers provided the following information. DePape stated that he was going to hold Nancy hostage and talk to her. If Nancy were to tell DePape the truth, he would let her go. And if she lied, he was going to break her kneecaps. DePape was certain that Nancy would not have told the truth. In the course of the interview, DePape articulated he viewed Nancy as the leader of the pack of lies told by the Democratic Party. DePape also later explained that by breaking Nancy's kneecaps, she would then have to be wheeled into Congress, which would show other members of Congress there were consequences to actions. DePape also explained generally that he wanted to use Nancy to lure another individual to DePape. The confession includes this description of what happened when the police arrived. Quote, "The police arrived and knocked on the door, and Pelosi ran over and opened it. Pelosi grabbed onto DePape's hammer, which was in DePape's hand. At this point in the interview, DePape repeated that DePape did not plan to surrender and that he would go through Pelosi. DePape stated that he pulled the hammer away from Pelosi and swung the hammer toward Pelosi. DePape explained that Pelosi's actions resulted in Pelosi taking the punishment instead." The FBI affidavit includes this account of what happened after Paul Pelosi managed to call 911. On October 28, 2022, at 2:23 a.m., San Francisco dispatch received a 911 call from Paul Pelosi, located at the Pelosi residence in San Francisco, California. Pelosi stated words to the effect of, "There is a male in the home," and that the male is going to wait for Pelosi's wife. At 2:31 a.m., San Francisco Police Department officers Colby Wilness responded to the Pelosi residence, California, in San Francisco, California, and knocked on the front door. When the door was opened, Pelosi and DePape were both holding a hammer with one hand, and DePape had his other hand holding onto Pelosi's forearm. Pelosi greeted the officers. The officers asked them what was going on. DePape responded that everything was good. Officers then asked Pelosi and DePape to drop the hammer. DePape pulled the hammer from Pelosi's hand and swung the hammer, striking Pelosi in the head. Officers immediately went inside and were able to restrain DePape. While officers were restraining DePape, Pelosi appeared to be unconscious on the ground. Law enforcement searched DePape's backpack at the Pelosi residence, and they found, among other things, a roll of tape, white rope, one hammer, one pair of rubber and cloth gloves, and a journal. We have some idea what might be in that journal based on his online writings. The Associated Press is reporting that David DePape appears to have made racist and often rambling posts online, including some that questioned the results of the 2020 election, defended former President Donald Trump, and echoed QAnon conspiracy theories. There were entries defending former President Donald Trump and Ye, the rapper formerly known as Kanye West, who recently made anti-Semitic comments. And there's DePape's own anti-Semitism. The Washington Post reports he published a drawing of the devil kneeling and asking a caricature of a Jewish person to teach him the arts of lying, deception, cheating, and incitement. That is the oldest conspiracy theory in human history, in the history of human civilization. The Jewish people are to blame for everything. Kanye West took to Instagram this weekend, posting a horrific photograph of Emmett Till after he had been tortured and murdered, and comparing Emmett Till's suffering to his own recent loss of fashion contracts. In the post, which Instagram first removed and then restored, actually restored it behind a warning, calling it sensitive content. In that post, Kanye West blames a Jewish man for all of his problems, saying that he lost his business contracts after Ari Emanuel published an op-ed piece calling on businesses to drop their associations with Kanye West after Kanye West threatened Jewish people with death in a tweet which got him suspended from Twitter. Of course, the man who would have assassinated Nancy Pelosi is a fan of Kanye's anti-Semitism and is an anti-Semite himself. We don't know how many violent attacks on Jewish people Kanye West might inspire, but we do know what Republican attacks on the truth and Republican attacks specifically on Nancy Pelosi have inspired. They gave us the Where is Nancy mob of January 6th, and they gave us the Where is Nancy would-be assassination at the Speaker's home in San Francisco.